Hey everyone, Ian here from IndigoCharge, and today I'm going to show you how to turn these into these, or these, or maybe you like Charizard. So I think it's safe to assume by now that the Nintendo Switch is a hit, and as with every popular consumer electronic device, people want to customize it. Specifically, people want to customize these JoyCons. These have been taken apart all over the internet in a myriad of different fashions, painted with all sorts of different custom designs. Unfortunately, because I live in an apartment complex and because my wife does not tolerate spray painting in a house, I was forced, or chose, to make these custom vinyl decals versus painting the JoyCons themselves. These are made from standard vinyl adhesive that I bought off Amazon and cut with a Cricut cutting machine. What makes these decals, or some of these decals, special versus ones that you can just buy online is that they have this textured two-tone carbon fiber vinyl in them, while also having the character or symbol designs that you know and love, whatever you want to customize them with. I haven't seen anything like this online. Everything you can either buy a character that's printed on there and it's all one piece, or just the carbon fiber and it's all one piece. I actually had a buddy of mine, once I showed him how to do this, even do it with leather vinyl adhesive, and it turned out really, really well. So to do this, I used a Cricut Explore 1 machine. I will only be going over how to do this with a Cricut. I will not be going over how to do this with a Silhouette or another cutting machine, and I won't be going over how to do this with just freehand and X-Acto knife. So you'll have to do a little bit of translating if you're using another method. Also, I am aware of the debrand issue, how if you put a decal on and remove it sometime later, it damages your Joy-Con. I haven't had that experience. There is a video in the description below that shows me taking off my vinyl decals after 5 months, and this is the result. I really don't notice a difference. They pretty much look like they've been used for 5 months, because they have. So let's go over to the computer and design our files. Alright, so once you are on your computer, you're going to want to go to your favorite internet browser. I prefer Google Chrome, and go to the Cricut Design Space landing page. It's going to take you to a page that looks similar to this. If this is your first time using your Cricut, you will need to download a plugin to allow this web page to work. If not, you'll upload, or regardless, you'll get to a page that's very similar to this. It may not have all of these, or won't have all of these images, because these are my recent projects. But regardless, you want to go to New Project, either over here or up here in the corner if this button doesn't exist for you. Once you click on New Project, it'll take you to a page like this, and our first step is to upload the template images, which are located in the description below. These are the images that actually have the cuts for the Joy-Cons themselves, not your custom images that you're going to overlay on top of that, but the raw cuts themselves. So you're going to upload them in, and they may look like this with the black, just all black one color, or it may actually show the different Joy-Con buttons and thumbsticks and stuff. It seems like every time I load it into Cricut, this DXF file gets loaded in differently, but regardless, it will work for you if it's all black or if it's the more detailed image. Hit save, and it should take you back to this page. Click on this, your newly uploaded image, and hit insert images. Once you do that, you'll get this nice fine and dandy image in your design workspace, and the first step is to change the height. That is up here in this top menu bar. You'll see size, width, height. Make sure your lock proportions is set to lock, so it changes the width and the height for you. And change the height to 3.755 inches. Hit enter to apply that change. This is very important, the 3.755, that's exactly how high you want the sticker to be, and it'll take care of the rest of the proportions for you, which is really nice. And so once you have that one in, just leave it wherever you like, whatever seems good to you. Go back to upload image, browse, same process. Click on the right one, and as you can guys see, that one loaded in with the more details, and it looks like there's a missing line here from the bottom. I don't know why Cricut does that, but it is not there, or it is there rather. The line is continuous, and the cut will be continuous for you. You don't need to worry that there's a gap there. Once again, hit save and click on the newly imported image. or upload an image. Insert it, change your height to 3.755 inches, and line these guys up as best as you can. They don't need to be exact. That's definitely close enough. So you notice there's a small gap. I really don't care about that. Next, for ease of viewing experience, I am going to move. I can't move. It's all one piece. Can I ungroup it? There we go. I am going to click on the black image that didn't load in with the details, and I'm going to click ungroup once I highlight it over here. I'm going to hit ungroup, and now it's all separate images, so I can move this, the main outside border cut. I can move it all the way down. Maybe it'll take all the way down. Okay, maybe not. Can I just click it and there we go. Oh no, that didn't do it. There we go. So now what we can do is re-highlight all of them. It's a little tedious. I wish Cricut made it a little bit easier to do this, but that's why we load in the DXF, so we can make full changes like this and regroup them. So after I've highlighted them all, the way I did that was I held down Control on a Windows or hold down Command on a Mac, and you can highlight if you click on each one. So we'll do that again. I'm clicking on one, hit Control, click. Wow, this whole time I've been holding down Control. And now all of them are highlighted, and I can regroup them together so I can move them and what have you. And we're going to change the coloring to this gray. So then we can see all the buttons as they're outlaid on the controller. Come on. There we go. There's the gray, and the last one we're also going to change to gray. It'll keep that black outline so we can see it really well. So next we're going to go to your favorite photo editing program. I use Pixlr. It's an online photo editor, and it allows me to do all my photo editing without actually having a program on my computer. It's a very light version of Photoshop. Basically, it doesn't have nearly as many features, but it gets the job done for the basic editing that I need. And so this is a outline of Gengar. This is the image that I am going to use to put on my JoyCons. And so what I do is split this image in half. I don't know how else you can do this. This is the method that I've devised. If you have a better way of splitting this image in half, then go for it. But what I've done is I centered the image on the canvas, and I am going to 340 divided by 2 is 170, and I'm going to cut it in half right there. So now I only have the left half of the image. I'm going to go to File and Save. And I'm going to make sure I'm saving to my computer. Again, you can do this with whatever photo editing format you want. I am going to save it. Yes, that's where I want to save it. And then I'm going to just hit undo. And it's going to take me back to the original image. Do the same thing, but I'm going to center it on the right side. Again, if you have a different photo editing program, or you know of another method that's much cleaner and simpler, please do that. This is just the quickest and easiest way for me. So now I have two separate images on my computer that combine into the one image that I want. Oh, I need to save it with a different name. We're going to call this one Right. Okay. So there we are. We can close out of the Pixlr Design Studio, and we're back to the Cricut Design Space. I'm going to use the same method I did before to upload the images. And now I'm just going to choose the two different left and right files. The difference here is this is a JPEG, and if you pull a silhouette or some sort of black and white image or other colored image off the internet, you're going to get this screen. That's not just going to go straight to the save, because the program, the Cricut Design Space, needs to know which parts of the photo you want to cut, because otherwise it'll just cut this square out, and we actually wanted to cut all the way around all this. So we're going to go into here, and we've got these two main colors that Cricut has detected. I'm going to make sure I'm highlighted on this select and erase. Cricut cut off the the left part of it, but it says select and erase. Make sure that's black. If you're on a different tool, it'll highlight that tool in black. But we're going to go to select and erase and highlight any of the background color, whatever Cricut changes it to. It usually is gray. And it's going to take away all the background for us except the black images. And if you have a blue image or a green image or whatever color, it'll pick that up for you, and it'll leave this blue and white checkered pattern. That basically means this part over here is transparent. So once we're satisfied with that, we're going to go continue and hit cut. So we make sure that Cricut knows this is a cutting image. We're not printing this out. We want to cut it out. Then we hit save, and it gets uploaded in just like before, and we insert it just like before. And for right now, we're just going to hold this guy off to the side and repeat the process. So we choose the right image, we make sure we hit simple, hit continue, make sure we're on select and erase, click on the gray, it gets rid of it, hit continue, make sure we have a cut image, hit save, highlight it, and insert the image. It is quite a process, I know. But overall, Cricut has done a very good job with this program. So next, we're going to drag these images over really where we want them to be on the JoyCons. And I'm going to do my best to line this up, but one tool that can really work is down here. It's the zoom tool. So we're going to zoom in pretty much as far as we can without distorting the image, and make sure that these lines are where we want them to be. One thing you want to make sure is that this part, on the left Joy-Con, the rightmost part of your image, or vice versa, is lined up with the edge. You don't want it over here, because then you're going to have this gap. So unless you want that gap, which actually I may want, that actually looks pretty good. You know, I think I am going to personally keep this gap here, but that is your design choice. What I want to do is make sure that these eyes are not covered up by any of the holes, because these are going to be holes that obviously the buttons poke through. So I want to make sure my image is still distinguishable even with all the holes. It does look a little bit strange over here, or not strange, but hard to see all the details over here, because this is just going to be kind of purple and this other stuff is going to be white. But overall, I am satisfied with that. Really, as long as you're close on the lines that bring the two together. If you're doing this kind of two Joy-Cons, one image look, as you saw in the previous part of this video, I did the Triforce and the Breath of the Wild Z logo as well, and I just put them down in the corner. Then it really doesn't matter where they are. As long as you're satisfied with the image, that is good. Now I'm also going to add Gengar text down here. It just says the word Gengar, and it matches the style of the picture of Gengar. I did not save that in the same folder. And I'm going to cut to a different part of the video. So I'm going to upload my Gengar text image, and I could have done the same process as before and edit the image within a different photo editor that I wanted to make sure I was split down the middle. But in this case, I want to show you guys how to use the erase tool in Cricut. It's pretty much as you would expect. You highlight erase over here. I'm going to make it as big as possible because this image is rather large, and just go and erase all of the text that is in the first half of the word. So as you notice, if I start off here and I start erasing, it's not going to do anything within this program. You want to make sure you start erasing within the image, so your cursor's not off of the edge at all when you start erasing. So once we get all of the black gone from the left half of the word, I'm going to go back to the selector and erase and just use it the same way we did before, and I'm left with the GAR part of this image, making sure there's no extra little pieces around. And oh, see, I missed a piece right there. You can see if I go to the cut image, there's a little bit of black right there. We don't want that because Cricut will cut that out. So we're going to go back down here, and now I can see the line that I missed. Go back to the select and erase, and just make sure I get this extra part of the line that didn't quite get erased by the magic select and erase tool. So now we go back and the image looks a lot cleaner. We're going to choose that, save it. We're going to insert it the same way as before, leave it off to the side, and now we will do the same for the other half. We will go to our erase tool, we are going to make it bigger so we can actually erase a significant amount. It doesn't take a long time. And now that I think that is clean, we're going to go back to the magic erase. And this one didn't look like it created any sort of line here where the gray part was. Let's go to continue and make sure, and that does look to be the case. Make sure it's set to cut. Select it there and hit insert images. And now we have both parts of our word. Again, you can do this however you want. This is how I am choosing to design this cut in particular. And I want each half of the word on each half of the JoyCons. But this is where you get to have all of your personality, your flair thrown into this project. That is one thing I didn't do. I should have looked at the height that I made this. So I made it 0.439 inches. I'm going to do the same to this one so they are the same size. And I'm going to do that in the same way that we resize the DXF files. That didn't seem to take. Not sure why it didn't seem to take. There we go. Yeah, so the Cricut program is overall pretty good, but it can be a little bit buggy. If you're patient with it, it's a pretty good program. If you want it to work exactly as you think it should work every time, it can be a little bit frustrating. But overall, like I said before, Cricut's done a good program for a in-web software. So once you're satisfied with your image, as I am here, we have one more step before we can send it to the Cricut to be cut, and that is to make sure that we attach all of these images together, all the circles, the outline, the black image, or my Gengar image, because otherwise Cricut will treat them as separate cuts, and basically will outline it'll do the outside, and then it'll move the plus over here, and move Gengar over here, and move the words over here, and it'll just do it in a nice big string at the top, which is not what we want. We want it to be proportionally sized. So we're going to go here and highlight in the same way we did before with the control. I'm holding down control right now. I am on a Windows machine. If you're on a Mac, hold down command once again. So now once everything's highlighted, and I can see that by over here, everything is gray. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but everything is gray. And I am going to hit attach down at the bottom. This is very important. Make sure you hit this attach button. So now it's going to make it go back to the way it was over here, where we have everything overlaid and it looks like it didn't actually get the cut. Don't worry, it's totally fine. We can now go to make it. Once we go to make it, we can see that everything actually is there. Again, I don't know why they formatted it like that, but that's how Cricut decided to do it. Once you are satisfied with where you want the image to be on your cutting area, go ahead and hit continue. So once you hit continue, you're going to be taken to this screen, and you're going to see up here which Cricut you're connected to. Once you get the steps 1 and 2 highlighted and it's telling you what to do, we're done with the software part, and now we can move over to the Cricut. So in order to get the vinyl ready to be put into the Cricut to be cut, you're going to need 3 things: a pair of scissors, your cutting mat, which should come with your Cricut. This may be green, this may be blue, it may be orange, pink, beige, whatever color you got. And you're going to need the vinyl you want to cut. Once again, I chose this carbon fiber white. That's going to be my main background. I'm going to cut the background color first. It really doesn't matter which color you cut first and which color you cut second, but you will need to cut one at a time. So first things first, we are going to peel off the protective layer, the protective film that keeps the stickiness of the mat so the vinyl sticks to it off, and then we're going to cut out a square that is about the size of what we need to cut for the vinyl. And if you remember from the previous part of the video, I will put up a picture. Our cut is about 4 inches by 5 inches. If we cut that much, we will leave plenty of room. So I am going to line this up here, and I'm looking down at we'll look at the top first. That is well over 4 inches. Now let me see if I can get a better angle for you guys. Yeah, it's well over 4 inches. There's the 4 right up in the top there. I don't know if you can see it. And then the 5 will line up down here. That seems like about 5 inches. So I need to go about another inch beyond here. There, and this cut does not need to be exact by any means. This is just very, very general. You're just trying to make sure you do have plenty of vinyl to cut, but not your whole entire piece, so you're wasting vinyl. So that's all we're going to need. We're done with the scissors now as well. We're going to keep this this like wax paper backing on. We'll take that off at the very end. I'm going to smooth out any bubbles that got in to the vinyl from the fact that it was a roll. I am kind of torn when I buy vinyl because I have the rolled stuff does this, and this is useless. It kind of ruins the piece of vinyl. But the matte or the flat stuff that comes in sheet is more expensive. And so as you can see, I am not able to get this smoothed out. Let's try a little bit on the table. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this to smooth out without creasing it, or without maybe taking off the edge. As you can see here, there's no really good formula for this. There's no magic pattern to get your creases out. Once they're in there, sometimes they come out, but this one's being awfully stubborn. Looks like we were able to get most of it. Yeah, there we go. We were able to salvage that piece. It does hang off a little bit over the edge there. This is cheaper vinyl. If you buy better vinyl, it will not do this. At least I hope it wouldn't do this. My first set of vinyl, I wanted to make sure it was really, really high quality for the first project I did. That was on my car. And that was great vinyl. Then I went with the cheaper stuff. As long as I'm willing to work with it a little bit, like we just did there, it works out great. We still have a few air bubbles, but those should work themselves out as we sort through and this thing gets cut. So there we go. We're gonna put this on. Make sure the 5-inch, the longer side, is the vertical part because the cut is bigger on the vertical side. And we're just gonna smooth it nice and flat. It should stick to the mat just fine. Also, if you buy better vinyl, you'll have what you're seeing here in these air pockets that I can just smooth the bubbles right out and they don't get stuck, kind of like what you're used to with maybe your screen protector, or if you just buy the cheaper vinyl, which you're going to see in a bit for the purple for the actual Gengar outline. So once we get that done, it is time to get our Cricut and make it cut. Okay, so once you get your cut ready to go on your computer and your vinyl on your mat, what you're going to see is this flashing light right here. It has 2 arrows going up and down. First thing we're going to do when we see that is hit open, and it should open the Cricut automatically, and then we're going to load in our mat. This may be a little tricky for me with the camera, but what we're going to do is load in the mat so the numbers decrease this way, or increase this way, and increase this way. And what we want to do is make sure these wheels are touching the top of the Cricut equally, as well as the top of the mat equally, and make sure the mat is underneath those 2 clips. Then we're going to hit the load button, and the Cricut should take in the mat a little bit. It'll move, line itself up, and once that's all good to go, you want to make sure up at this wheel, I don't know if you guys can see this in the shot, but you want to make sure this wheel is set to what you want it to. This is technically Vinyl Plus. That's what Cricut recommends I set it to. My Cricut, I always go 1 less, so I'm going to go from Vinyl Plus to Vinyl. If I was cutting, let's say, normal vinyl, I would go from Vinyl to Paper Plus. And then I'm going to hit this flashing C, which is the Cricut symbol for Go. Once I hit Go, it's going to take in the mat and start cutting. So once the Cricut stops moving, it's going to come up with this symbol again, and that means unload this time. And so then we're going to hit the unload button. The whole reason I'm pulling the mat up right now is just to get it out of the way of the camera so it doesn't knock over the tripod again. And then we can get the second color vinyl prepped and ready to go, and just hit the load button again and the go button again, and the Cricut will cut the same thing out for us, just like off the vinyl. You just want to make sure you go slow. This is not to peel it off of its wax paper base, but just to peel it off the mat. Just start it nice and slow. Make sure you're not wrinkling it. The cut, I don't think you guys can see it in the camera. I'm going to move it around a little bit, but it's just right here. So I don't need to worry about anything over here or anything over here. I can just peel it off. If you peel it off too much at an angle, like peel it back like this, you're going to end up curling it. It's not going to go on as easily as you'd like. So try to pull it more vertically up and you should be fine. Alright, so now that I've got my secondary color, the purple, all primed and set, I'm going to hit the same flashing arrow button, and it's going to load the Cricut. And as you can see there, I did not actually push the mat far enough forward, so it didn't take the mat when the wheel spun. So I want to press the arrow button again, and it'll unfeed it, and it'll give me a reset, so it'll start flashing again, telling me it's going to take it forward this time. So now it took it because I pushed it forward far enough. And now the Cricut button, the Cricut C, is flashing to say, hey, I'm ready to cut, press go. So I'm going to press that C, which means go, and the Cricut will start cutting again. And once again, now that the Cricut is done cutting, the arrow light is flashing and I can press it to unload the mat, remove the mat, and now I am ready to start putting the stickers on the JoyCons. Alright, so now that we got everything cut, it's time to put it all together. What you're going to need is some sort of flat pry tool. I use this thing that Cricut gave me that came with my Cricut. You can just use any sort of standard butter knife, or if you have nails, unlike me, you can even use your fingernails. I use a pair of tweezers to help me with those tricky ones to get them off and to put them back on the JoyCons. And then obviously you're going to need your vinyl cuts and you're going to need your JoyCons. So I always start with the larger color, whichever color has more surface area. And the first step is to remove the pieces you don't want. So we're going to remove things like the buttonholes. So what I usually do is I get my pliers and I'll just squeeze them, because it doesn't matter what you do to these. If you damage these, they're just the trash. And you just squeeze them, they come right off, and it's kind of hard to see in white. I'm going to see if I can get it in the light. There you go. And you can see the cut that I took out. So now I'm going to go through and get all of the rest undone. We're going to get things like this R out that needs to be replaced by purple, and we're going to get the rest of the buttonholes out. And as you can see there, sometimes it doesn't always go as planned, and you got to play around with it a little bit. This white one is definitely the hardest I've ever done. Sometimes the Cricut doesn't quite cut it as you want, or sometimes more comes with it than you're expecting. But there is the A and the R out, and you just go slow, be patient, and remember that if you mess it up, you can always kind of set the vinyl back down and really fix most of any mistakes that you're going to make. I've never made a mistake that I haven't been able to fix by just being patient, putting it back where it was, and restarting. So yeah, I'm going to take the rest of these off. Alright, so now that you got all of the internal pieces out, the next thing you're going to do is get all this excess out of here. Now because this is usable vinyl, this is good vinyl, even though it's smaller cuts. If I just, let's say, want to do that lettering one time, this vinyl could be very good for it. So instead of just peeling it off and throwing it away, I am going to cut somewhat close to the edge of the line, making sure I don't cut over it. And that should be good enough, and I'll save this vinyl for later. And then we will work on getting the outside done. The outside's a little bit easier. I usually just use my hand, but you do want to make sure you go slow, because if the Cricut missed a cut here, this is really where you could screw up your entire project, especially on that thin line between the two. I'm going to get as much as I can done. Now that I started the thin line, then we should be good. can do these at the same time. For your first time, go maybe a little slower than this. I know that I've pretty much dialed my Cricut in, and as I say that, it actually missed a cut. So what you can see here is it did not cut that upper corner all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the extra vinyl that did come off properly, so it's just out of the way and it doesn't interfere with the rest as I do a little bit of surgery on this. Now that it's off, I can look at it a little closer and figure out what happened. And so what we see, it just didn't quite cut all the way. It looks like it actually missed the cut. Like it cut in two different places. So instead of actually that worked great. Yeah, so I just tore off the end. We did miss a little bit there. I have had this happen on other projects in similar places. I had one happen down here one time. Actually, the vinyl that I took off of this did that. And what I did was I went back through an X-Acto knife and cut it off. But this is a lot smaller than that time. I think I'm just going to leave it. Maybe see if I can tuck that little tiny little piece in. And if it bothers me later, I'll go back with an X-Acto knife. But that looks close enough to me. Nobody's really looking at these very closely. Once you get them on the controller, it's very hard to see actually any blemishes. We're just seeing it here. So next we're going to do the same exact thing for the purple vinyl. However, I'm going to take off everything, or I'm going to at least take off the Gengar parts opposite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off still all of the buttonholes, because obviously we still need the buttonholes gone. The buttons still need to poke through, but instead of taking off this portion where the purple went, like the lettering, I'm going to take off all of this excess stuff. So we're just left with what's missing on the white one. So what happened there was I actually caught this tiny little piece with my finger, but instead of trying to put it back in that tiny little space, I'm just going to save it over here, and when it comes time to put that one on the controllers, I'm just going to do it there. Because if I tried to fit it in here, I would probably slip, it would stick to the vinyl, and vinyl sticks to vinyl very well. It's very hard to get off. So for this part, what you want to do is get it started like I did there, and then do whatever method you can to get the larger parts to come out without taking the bottom parts. I sometimes use the tweezers, but sometimes they can poke and make too much of a divot that I don't want showing up. So I sometimes use my flat edge. I don't know what you want to call this thing. And I just hold it on the part that's that's coming up with the larger piece, the problem child, if you will. And it usually, as you can see here, then sticks to the transfer paper instead of coming up with the larger piece. The key to this is just to go slow, be patient. It is the most difficult part of the vinyl removal process, but you'll get the hang of it and you'll figure out what works for you, and you're left with the lettering or whatever logo design you have on there. And you can get this is a pretty intricate design, definitely a more difficult one, but you can even go more difficult than this, but it does get pretty challenging. And sometimes you'll get lucky and pieces will stay exactly where you want them to. That's close enough. We're going to do that one first, right after we get the white on. So our next step is to peel off the white logos, or the white decals, and put them on first. We're going to line this one up. Hopefully it comes off as one piece. We can put it on, and then we can fit all of the different decals and lettering into that one. So the way I usually do this is I set the Joy-Con down on a flat surface and I take my decal off. Now this one does have some thin lines, so I'm going to be careful not to rip it, but this vinyl quality is much higher than the purple. There we go. So our sticker's off. So now comes the challenging part. The more solid of a sticker you have, the easier this part is, for sure. We're going to see if we can get this one that's a little more challenging. So I just line up all the different pieces, and again, patience. Alright, so there we are. I was able to get it. It did take a little bit, as you can see right up here. That thin line gave me a lot more trouble than I ever thought it would. I did have to fudge it a little bit. As you can see, the line isn't perfectly straight, but really once you hold it at a distance, you can't hardly even see it. And once I get the purple on there, I think it's going to look pretty darn good. So what we're going to do now is piece by piece. I'm going to start with this troublesome AR combination. We're going to place the purple within the white. And what's nice about the Cricut, when it cuts, it doesn't actually cut the same exact size. Because it's a blade, it's taking off just a hair of a material. And that little hair allows these to fit into the space very, very nicely. So there you go. That's what one half is going to look like. I'm going to go take this half off, do the same thing, but I'm going to do it over on the other table so it's a little bit easier for me, so I don't have to do it in front of the camera. Alright, I will see you soon. And with that, we are done. The final step in this whole process is to sit back and admire your work. Those are some good Joy-Cons. But as you guys saw, the whole process is fairly straightforward. It may have a little bit more steps than it seems, but overall it's pretty simple. It just takes a lot of patience. Remember that vinyl is very forgiving. You can stick, re-stick, peel apart, put back together. Just give yourself some grace, stick with it, and you'll have a good time. You'll end up with a good product that I'm pretty sure you guys will be very happy with. If you guys are starting out and this is your first time really using vinyl, cutting with the Cricut, or really cutting at all, I'd recommend something a little simpler, something with a more solid piece, more one piece, and just some small logos in the corner. Something like this, about on the same level as the Gengar one that you just saw is this Charizard one, and it has kind of the same problems as it's multiple pieces. It kind of likes to spread out, and it doesn't want to go on in the original shape that it was. And then you could even do something as complex as these guys. These guys definitely took a long time. I only got about half of the sticker on each Joy-Con in the first go, and the other half I had to put on pretty painstakingly, one piece at a time. But regardless, I think my favorite now are these white and purple Gengar ones, given that Gengar is my favorite Pokemon and purple is my favorite color, if you guys couldn't tell that. But regardless, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. Feel free to post your custom Joy-Cons in the comments below. If you have more questions, go check out the link in the description that links you to the Instructables page that outlines this in a more readable format and more that you can follow along in a different way. But again, thank you guys so much, and I will cut you later. Oh, that was bad.